episode 2 of my new mini-series documenting my practice sessions and matches up until the Tunnelbarnfarm Spring Festival in April. The plan was to go to Tunnelbarnfarm and to try and practice some techniques. You can see me here, I'm fishing meat short. As it happened, I tried most things in the day. I fished meat short, I fished shallow, I fished down the track, I fished down the edge for F1s, the F1 rig. I also fished down the edge for carp. And it's probably a factor that I was the only person on at Newport that day, but I caught plenty of fish. And it was interesting to see just what was going to work and what wasn't going to work in terms of my fishing. I don't have a lot of experience of fishing with meat in recent years, and it was a real eye-opener trying to put into practice some things that I was thinking about, plus some things that I'd watched. And I was happy that I'd plumbed a good place, but what I wasn't prepared for was the float was too light. I was fishing a 4x10 float, and it was either sticking out like a lighthouse or it was sunk. I don't know why I couldn't get the float to shot properly. I suspect it was something to do with the fact that I was fishing 017 mainline to 013, and the rig's not stable in those conditions. Maybe it works better with a lighter line for that style of float. Anyway, I changed to a 4x12 float and everything was perfect. The other thing that I did on the day was I, for the first time ever, started to use back shots. Something that I've watched many videos about. I do and don't have, views about it in terms of how good is it or not, how gimmicky is it or not. But I've left the session this week thinking it's absolutely the right thing to do. So I think you'll see me with backshotted rigs at the weekend, because I think until you try one of these things, you can't really make up your mind. And I actually, gave it a good go on Wednesday, and I was very happy with the results. I started the session by trying to catch some fish on meat short. I did. Actually, I kept that line going for 2 hours. The only reason I came off of that line was because I wanted to try and catch some fish down the edge. I'd started by fishing meat short. I was feeding maggots to my left via a catapult pretty regularly, putting in bait. There was a reed bed. I was fishing just past the reed bed towards the next peg. So I wanted to give that a try. When I went down there, I didn't feel the fish were really settled in one particular place. It was if that they were coming up for bait, maybe the bait was a bit too spread around. I tried using ground bait to sort of pin them in one particular place, but it wasn't really working. So what I did was I pretended it was a match and thought about what would I do in this situation. I'd probably try and turn that into a carp line. So that's what I did. Probably what I should have done was started the session by putting some ground bait in and then feeding maggots over the top. I think maybe that would have helped keep the fish in a more of a fixed location instead of spreading them around too much. But I turned it into a carp line, potted 3 big pots of ground bait in. I didn't have any other big particles. I didn't have any worms. I didn't have any sweet corn. So I ended up fishing just a bunch of maggots on the hook. But as you may or may not have seen on the video, I caught a load of fish down there after I did that. Some big F1s. I foul hooked a few carp. I think I was fishing a bit too far away from the reeds. But I netted, 1 big carp, double figures. I was very pleased with that. And they were clearly happy, the carp that is, to come in to that edge line and come into that shallower water. Probably fishing just under 18 inches deep. I also tried fishing shallow. I quite, funnily say on the video, I don't know why I'm doing this. There's probably no point. I think it was a 35 mile an hour wind was blowing down the lake. You can see here that it's dead calm, but if you look for when I start fishing shallow, there's waves in the peg. Interestingly, I spun the rig, and second spin on the rig, I caught an F1. So I was able to catch fish shallow. What I wasn't able to do was to feed and hold the pole. So in the end, I worked out if I was to feed, I could actually still get a fish if I was to just turn my rig or tap my rig instead of doing any other feeding. If I needed to refeed, then the right thing to do was to bring my pole in and then feed accurately. Otherwise, I was spreading the fish too much. So it was a good practice session in terms of trying to work out what to do when the wind is really windy. So that was good. The other thing that I was very happy about was the fact that I'd gone to practice, because when I got to the peg, I'd realised I'd made all of my shallow rigs up with a band, because I'm normally fishing banded caster when I fish shallow, and then realised I was going to fish maggot. So I was able to change all of those in preparation for the weekend, because I'll be fishing maggot again. So when I look back and think about how did the session go, it's helped me form a plan for the match at the weekend. And this is a rough plan. Obviously, things have to change, depending on the lake I draw, depending on the peg I draw. What does the far bank look like? What do the edges look like? However, it's safe to say that I would plan to fish short on meat, to fish down the edge with maggots and ground bait, to feed a line shallow, and be confident that there will be fish on the bottom on the track if I need to go down there. So very happy with that as a starting position. I've remade the rigs from the day, so I'm all fully prepared. That's all good to go. So overall, a really good session. I was very happy with the way it went. I'm happy with the plan, and I look forward to the fishing the open match on Sunday. So we'll see how that goes, and I'll be back for a little match report and complete this little mini series of how I think things are going. I'll catch you on the next one. Ta-da.